All right, I'm just going to share screen quickly. All right, can everyone see this?
Yep.
Perfect. And let me just check my participants and attendees tab. Okay. Perfect. So hi, everyone. My name is Ben Demers. I'm an economic development planner with the City of Somerville. Welcome to this evening's Winter Hill Urban Renewal Plan Civic Advisory Committee meeting, CAC meeting of May 9th, 2024. We're starting this meeting at 5:33 p.m. I do just want to make a quick note that we are hosting this meeting this evening on Zoom. Because of compliance with open meeting law at the state level, which does not allow for what is called side conversation. The chat function amongst attendees has been disabled for this evening, so just want to call that out. Sorry if you can hear any noises in the background, but just want to call that out in case you are looking for the chat function. So if you would like to make comment on anything that is discussed this evening, we just ask that you please raise your hand. There will be a public comment period at the end of the session, but also we're pretty relaxed on that. So if anyone would like to make a comment about anything that is being immediately discussed, we can definitely take that comment. So I'm just going to go through our agenda for this evening. So we're going to start with a roll call and approval of a previous meeting summary from the March meeting of the CAC. We'll then shift into a development update and temporary use update. So we're joined this evening by Scott Lombardi from Mark Development. So he'll be speaking first just to kind of in one of these meetings deliver the message that we sent over email last month about the approval from the Somerville Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA, about the 299 Broadway project changes. We then will also have an update on temporary uses on the site that people can expect to see soon. I will then give an update on CAC recruitment. And then we'll also have space for updates from any Civic Advisory Committee members if there's anything happening in the neighborhood or just anything that they want to share. And then we will have time for a public comment period before we adjourn. Is there anything that anybody wants to say up top? Nope. Okay. So I'm going to quickly go through roll call vote. So Will Colin.
Present from beautiful Bon Air Street.
Thank you. Okay. Breck Bailey.
Yes, I'm here.
Edith Kwok. Let me know this morning that she will not be here. Councillor Jesse Klingon.
Present.
And then Councillor Jake Wilson, who I do not see on. Okay. Perfect. And then did everyone have a chance to look over the meeting summary? I know that I had to send it in a follow-up email, but tried to get it ahead with enough time to review. If anyone did have a chance to review, do you have any comments or things you would like changed about the summary? Nope, it looks good. I don't see others' cameras, but I'm going to assume that if no one speaks up, that we agree with Will's thumbs up. So we're good to post those for the March meeting. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, and I'm now going to shift into the first substantive item on our agenda, which is a development and temporary use update. So we're going to be hearing from Scott Lombardi from Mark Development. The first item that he'll be speaking on is approval from the Somerville Zoning Board of Appeals for 299 Broadway project changes. So again, to give some context, which Scott will speak more about, the Mark Development, the overall 299 Broadway team, so Mark Development, Beacon Communities, and Rise Together had gone back to the Zoning Board of Appeals to alter the project to allow for more units. And they did receive that approval at the March meeting that they attended. So I will pass things over to Scott to give more context.
Sure thing. Thanks for inviting me, Ben. Good meeting everyone else on this call. Glad to be in front of the Civic Advisory Committee. So as most of you probably already know from what Ben just said and from the last update we gave this group on March 20th, we were back in front of the ZBA. We presented them with some design revisions. They ultimately determined that the revisions that we were proposing were insubstantial. That was big for us. It gave us the approval we needed to continue to advance our construction design documents. Changes, I'll run through them at a real high level, but they're primarily related to removing the step backs up at the 4th and 5th floors of Building B, which is the building to the easternmost side of our site, and the step backs were facing Sewell and Grant Street. So no real changes to the Broadway elevation or anything that was public facing. The reason the changes were important to us and ultimately important to moving the project forward, it's related to the internal stacking of the residential units and the structural demising walls that are associated with them. Not to get into too many details, but just like most developers right now, it's an inflationary environment. We're really focused on building and designing and building efficiently. And we try as much as we can to avoid unnecessary construction costs that could potentially make our project infeasible. So we've been, for the last year or so, we've been trying to manage our design and make sure that what we're putting on paper is going to be buildable. The partially offset upper floors that were originally approved created some really significant structural challenges that worked against our budget. So as an ownership group, we felt like the what we were gaining from the step backs were not where it would have been everyone's best interest to pivot from the stacked approach and see if we could pivot from the unstacked approach and see if we could stack them so that structurally everything would transfer down the building efficiently. We reviewed this at length with our design team, and they agreed that the massing wouldn't only help us structurally, but it would also bring the overall massing of our building more in line with the massing of Building A, which sits higher up on the hill because of some pretty significant grade changes as you cross our site. So Building B, which is the building that changed to red, is quite a bit lower than Building A. We're pleased that the ZBA agreed with our assessment of the changes and deemed them insubstantial because it has allowed us to keep things moving. Our goal's always been to have a buildable, permittable set by early next year, and that's still the case. And now it's with a more viable Building B that doesn't deviate from the original design that I think you all liked, that we were excited about and really like, and that the community, for the most part, helped push us towards and also seemed excited about. So happy to get into any specifics. I mean, the unit count, gross square footage, whatever people might want to hear, but at a really high level, that was the change, the reason for our change, and how the process went over the last 6 weeks or so.
Awesome.
Ben,
Thank
if
you,
that's
Scott.
good, want me
Yeah.
to work, keep
so
moving right on to the temporary uses, or stick on this one for a bit?
Yeah, if we want to just take one moment, just because, so I know that 2 months ago, for those who were at that meeting, we were able to ask some questions, but just for anyone who wasn't on for that, is there any clarification or anything that people want to ask? Breck, I saw that you unmuted.
No, that's I'm just gearing up for a question down the road.
No problem. Cool. Okay, so yeah, if I don't see any questions, we want to shift into the second item.
Yeah, sure. So temporary site uses, happy to walk you through this one. Pretty straightforward. We've been working with the Somerville Housing Authority for them to temporarily use our parking lot, which we're not currently using right now, as a staging area for modular unit deliveries for the Waterworks project. It seems like they're excited about it. Their contractor is, but the plan would be for them to start staging their modular unit deliveries in our parking lot. They'd keep them there until they're needed at the site, and give trucks a place to park and stay and stage until they need to drive down the street to the Waterworks project. I think they're expecting to start delivering to our site later this month, and we'll likely finish with the modular unit deliveries by early July. So it's really no rush for us. The site will be vacant for the summer anyway. So happy that it's going to be going to good use.
Awesome, thank you. And Scott, can you just clarify, when you say that by early July, the deliveries will be complete, that's when deliveries to 299 Broadway or to the Waterworks site?
2299 Broadway. So
Cool.
the trucks come from Canada, as it's been explained to me, and they don't go right to the site and into place. They have to be staged somewhere for a little while. They're unpacked and prepped to hit the site. So each truck will be at the 299 Broadway project for a day, 2 days, 3 days until it's needed down the street at Waterworks.
Got it. And then has the SHA mentioned how long they're hoping to store on the site?
Yeah, I think that by early July, when these trucks stop coming, I think that once the last truck leaves the site in early July, they don't have any immediate plans to use it again for storage.
Got it. Cool. Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure thing.
Yeah, are there any questions or comments from CAC members?
So just to confirm, I think that seems like a good use if the city is excited for it. But just to confirm, I know last time we had a discussion about some like I think more social uses, like with the goal of getting people excited or spreading awareness of the project. Sounds like that is off the table at this point. Is that true?
If that's directed at me, nothing's been deemed to be off the table. I haven't heard of that yet. We'd
Yes.
absolutely be open to it.
So yeah, sorry. Will, for context on that. So I think that had come up after the development team left the meeting last time, but I had communicated it back to I communicated it back to Damian Scott, and
Okay.
I know that he was like he was starting to look at if that was feasible. So I don't think that this use will necessarily means that that can't happen. We just don't have an update on that piece.
Okay. I see Councilor Clingan also has a hand on this.
Yeah, Counselor.
Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, so I just want to say that it's kind of disappointing to hear that. I mean, it's nice to hear that we're helping out with the Somerville Housing Authority's project. Certainly, with the space crunch, I mean, it's we find ourselves in this situation all the time. But as far as like, I would like to know sort of just exactly how much, like, if there would be any space left, or how what the timeline is on that. And again, I'm I'm happy to hear that it's being utilized for such a good use, but somewhat disappointed that we couldn't have activated it in a social way. Just because this is going to be the first thing people see now after the fence went up is storage. And again, I think it's hopefully it maybe it'll signal to people that there's that I don't know. I don't know what it will signal to people, but I'm sure I'll hear about it. And again, it's unfortunate that we couldn't do something different, but understandable that we need place to station those things. So that's all.
Sure. Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, and I think again we can continue those conversations about the potential for a social event. I think when we had spoken last about it, it was more about like a one-off event than like a longer term activation. So I don't know if that was a different expectation that I misunderstood. And obviously want to be aware of like the logistical constraints with that, but keep that conversation up with the development team.
Then we're absolutely open to it. We look at you guys as partners, and if we can put it to better use, by all means, bring things our way.
Appreciate that. Okay, are there any final questions for Scott? Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Don't want to use up more of your evening, but keep it posted on anything else in this meeting.
All right, excellent. Good seeing everyone. Thanks for the invite.
Okay, and then with that, I'm going to shift into the second substantive item, which is an update on CAC recruitment. So at the beginning of this most recent month, sorry, it's been a long day, y'all. At the beginning of this month, we opened recruitment for the CAC. So this is going to be open until May 31st. We have so far received 4 applications, so that is exciting to see. And in general, I've seen good engagement with like different committee applications recently, so I'm very optimistic about engagement here. Just to review the different positions that we are recruiting for. So it's a resident of the Mystic, of Mystic Housing, the senior representative, so somebody age 65 or over, a youth representative, so somebody age 14 to 20, an institutional partner, somebody representing the Portuguese speaking community, somebody representing the Spanish speaking community, somebody representing the Haitian Creole speaking community, and then also several workforce representatives. So a pretty broad array of members that we are looking to recruit for. I shared this out in email with Civic Advisory Committee members, and we've also done a lot of outreach to different like nonprofit groups that are based in this area. I've sent this to the counselors, but the application is up in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Nepali, and then in traditional and simplified Chinese. So all of the links for those surveys are up on the Summer Voice page for the project. Soya, so the Summer Viva Office of Immigrant Affairs has also been a really incredible partner on this. So they've also been helping with outreach. So they do a lot of direct outreach to non-English speakers. And so feeling very optimistic about that engagement. Did anybody have any questions about any of the materials that have been shared, or just kind of how this process is looking? Councilor Klingon?
Sorry.
okay.
Just a question on outreach. I know I'm always a complainer with this. I mean, it sounds like you did a lot of outreach. Don't get me wrong, but I'm always curious about what things make the cut for like the cities. You know, like I just got two today, one for the Women's Commission, one for, you know, the ones that go out via press release. I don't remember seeing one for the Winter Hill CAC in that form.
Yeah, so for civic advisory committees, from my understanding, we don't generally do press releases. I don't think it's like out of the question. It's just like it again, and I
I don't even
appreciate you
know, I
noting this,
mean,
but
yeah. No, I was gonna say, I don't even know if those are, I mean, I guess what I'm looking at is press release, you know, we get the email, I guess from Denise, yeah, so it would be, and then there's a second email with the actual, you know, when it goes out, we get like the unofficial. So I guess that is a press release. I just thought, I meant more like city announcement, you know, like,
sure. Let me reach out to comms, because I've been communicating mostly back and forth with Soya, which is like a portion of communications, but there might just be like something missing here with the direct back and forth with like core comms. And so let me reach out to them.
okay.
Yeah, I think it might also be that for civic advisory committees versus like citywide commissions, we tend to do this more like targeted emailing. So core comms might also be doing like outreach more directly to organizations, or like they might identify specific newsletters rather than doing like the call that they would for another. But I don't think it's like a bad use of resources in this case to do a call like that. So I'll ask them. Were there any other thoughts or questions? Cool. Definitely encourage you to share this with, anybody you know who might be interested in applying. I have posters that I can bring to a space to hang up. If like you have a space or a business or anything where you're like, oh, it'd be great to have something here that people could, just scan the QR code. So just let me know. Trying to get as much engagement with this as possible over the next 22 days while this is open. And if we find that
we can put that in the vestibule of the restaurant. If
yeah, that would be great. Well, I can bring something over there.
Yeah, we can.
That works too. I appreciate that. What was I gonna say? Oh, so if we end up not if we find that we need more outreach or we haven't got enough applicants to fill the seats, we can also look to extend that time period for a little bit longer and continue that outreach. That's not a huge lift. It would just have to be making sure that the translated materials are done in such a way that that date is updated, but that's not as big of a lift as translating the rest of the materials. Cool. Okay. So shifting into if there are any updates from CAC members regarding, so I think I'd had this a couple of months ago. This is just kind of in general, like perceptions of the project, but also just any kind of neighborhood updates that people think are relevant to share with this group.
The question I get most often is when's building starting, and what does it mean to the neighborhood? Just, is it going to be disruptive or not to traffic and whatnot? But really, yeah, I've just heard questions. When's it going to get started?
Yeah, so the current aspiration is demolition sometime later this year, and then going for building permit early next year. So I think the goal for construction would be spring 2025. Things often come up in the process of going for a building permit and preparing the site and all of that. And I think there's still like financial parts of the project, like hearing back about LIHTC applications, so like the tax credits that will help fund the project, things like that. So as soon as we know more on like a concrete timeline as they're actually going for their demolition permit and for the foundation permit and then building permit. Also, I know this is the names of a lot of permits and this process can be kind of opaque. So if it's ever helpful to just like talk through more of what that development process looks like. Also, I'm happy to fill in what I know, but then also bring in other staff from the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development who can like better show that full timeline.
This is less of a note I've heard from the community, but just based on what you were just saying in terms of demolition and community engagement, I think it would be a great idea to have a little bit of a community event around around the demolition, particularly of the Star Market building, because so many people have wanted to see that go for so long. Might be a nice little community moment for us.
Yeah, that could be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think so.
That is going to be a fun permitting challenge to combine a demolition with an event, but I like the idea. Spiritually, I'm very there with you. I think that we could make this happen.
We can be on the other side of the street. It's fine. We don't have to be on site.
Totally. Just to clap while it happens.
Yeah, that might have to be one of those like unofficial, like
Yeah,
community-
people might just show up for that
community-
one.
well, community run events, just because, I mean, I agree. I would love to, you know, when the wrecking ball goes through, it's gonna be amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people will, so at least if, I guess the main thing is locking in on, you know, trying to figure out what the actual date is. Would be the main thing, but yeah, I don't, as far as I can't see. There's really no space to put to you know, whatever. Yeah, I don't know if it would work in that fashion, like you're saying, Ben, but
Yeah,
but certainly, well, no, duly noted that we should do our best to get word out when it's happening.
Sure.
commemorate.
Yeah. I think maybe a community meeting might be.
Oh, you know what though? Actually, the more I think about it, the more like I mean, if the brewery, you know, could talk to whatever Jay Holmes and, you know, kind of use the parking lot as sort of a watch party or something, you know,
Jesse, we're gonna set
decent
up
view from there.
Yeah, we'll set up bleachers on the patio.
A good
Yeah,
safe distance, informal. That's more what I was thinking, as opposed to a city supported,
Totally.
Yeah.
community meeting
But
specifically.
Yep. All
See
right,
if
we'll
everyone
talk
can
about
get
this
a-
behind the scenes.
Cool. Well noted. Thank you, Will. Any other kind of neighborhood happenings or anything that people want to share?
I'm doing a neighbor, oh, sorry, I meant me to come in late. I'm doing a neighborhood cleanup on May 25th, Saturday. From 10. Let me just double check my calendar if I give the wrong information out.
Hey Ben, just I'm going on mute because I got my kids now.
No problem. Thank you, Brooke. Counselor, you said May 25th?
Yeah, I'll get back to it in a second. I'm looking it up. You can go ahead and.
Why don't we jump back to it? I
Here
can
we-
shift. Oh yeah, perfect.
Here we go. So yeah, exactly. I was right. May 25th at 10 a.m. It's gonna be, the kickoff point location is gonna be Elizabeth Peabody House. So May 25th, 10 a.m., Elizabeth Peabody House, 275 Broadway. Gloves and bags will be provided, and we're just gonna kind of fan out and clean up the Winter Hill area.
Love it. Any other events like that or things that people want to plug? Cool. Okay, that sounds great. I'll shift us into the public comment period. So we do have one attendee. I'm not sure if they want to make comment, but do just want to give them the opportunity. I'm actually wondering if this is Counselor Wilson just on like a different name.
Oh yeah, that's his that's his chat bot, so he can recap the meeting.
Got it. Okay.
That's what it is.
I'll let him know that I take, like, I
Hey,
finished meeting
Counselor
summaries the
Wilson
day after.
stinks. Counselor Wilson stinks. Boo. You bring that back, chatbot. Let him know.
I'll tell him that I can send him the summaries sooner in the future. Cool. Okay, that was everything that I had on the substantive agenda. So thank y'all for coming for these updates. Hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll have more members will be able to have kind of like larger conversation, but have very much appreciated, especially in these days of getting the CAC kind of back running more again after hiatus. This level of engagement has been great. Any other last notes before we adjourn?
Thanks, Ben.
Awesome.
Nope. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.